I need to tell you exactly how I feel. You might not have noticed, but for as long as I can remember, I've always been there for you. I want you to know what I've done, and I hope that by opening up like this, you'll feel the same for me, and we can be happy together forever. I'll never forget when we were both 13, the day you first came to my school. The moment you walked in, I knew you were the most beautiful girl alive. When your calm blue eyes met mine, even if only for a fleeting second as you scanned the unfamiliar faces in class, I wanted to be with you for the rest of my life. At first, I was devastated because you were assigned to someone else to show you around. You barely noticed me. You were always surrounded by your group of friends who were totally different from mine. Who am I kidding? I never really had friends. The thing that got me through all those lonely years was watching you, admiring everything you did, the way you moved through your day, flawless and poised, filled me with awe every single day. As time passed, you became more popular with both the boys and the girls. All the popular boys chased after you, even some older ones. But you turned them away. The girls admired how you kept yourself. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, which made you beloved and resented. It's sad, but jealousy is human. But what they did went far beyond jealousy. I watched them push you whenever teachers looked the other way. They'd shove you up against anything hard, usually a wall. When you stumbled and hit the wall, the teachers would just say, "Watch where you're going, dear," and go about their day completely unaware of what had really happened. Seeing that over and over burned me up. Watching you endure torment for simply being better was unbearable. I hoped it would stop, but it escalated. I saw them spill your drink just because the most popular boy had asked you out. I was there when they set your bag alight in woodwork because they thought you were being condescending when you tried to help. I glimpsed the time they threw you to the ground, outside the gates, and kicked you until you sobbed, because you had told the teacher what they were doing. After that, they would follow you home, often just shouting abuse, but sometimes snapping and attacking you when you were only inches from them. It tore me apart to see you so exposed and afraid. I wanted to fix it. There were 3 main bullies who were always involved. I knew more who did it from peer pressure, but these 3 were the consistent ones. The worst was that narcissistic bitch Bethany. Beth was consumed with jealousy of everything about you. All those things I mentioned that made you stand out drove her mad. She used to be the center of attention and loved it. Every boy wanted her. Every girl wanted to be her. But she weaponized that attention and hurt others to keep it. She slept with boys who showered her with gifts, or whose parents paid for everything. She only kept girls around she considered beneath her, and belittled them so they wouldn't threaten her. Over the years, your rise stole the spotlight from her, and her status crumbled. The second was that idiot Chris. He asked you to the school dance in front of everyone, his friends and yours, and you rejected him like you had with so many others, but he reacted differently. He ran off in tears, humiliated in front of the school, which mattered a lot back then. He denied liking you to save face, but when his reputation faltered, he blamed you. and took his anger out on you. The last was Julie. She'd been obsessed with you ever since the boy she liked gushed about how amazing you were while ignoring her, despite her desperate attempts to win him in the last week of school. I knew they had something planned for you, so I decided to handle it myself because I loved you and didn't want your final days ruined. First, I dealt with Chris. He was stronger than me and into sports, supposedly on steroids, so I couldn't beat him in a straight fight, but that ended up being his undoing. I learned his locker combination by pretending I'd forgotten mine. The teacher handed out a list of combinations. Our school security was a joke. I opened his locker without leaving a trace. Inside, I found the next syringe he planned to use. I squirted a bit out and pulled the plunger back, leaving a large air bubble. Chris wasn't a medical expert. He just injected and trained. I got a gym pass and watched him. He came in one day, laughing with his mates, then headed to his locker and later strode out in training gear. Determined, he started fine, then slowed. Confusion spread over his face as his body failed. Then cardiac arrest hit, and he collapsed. People tried CPR, but there was no defibrillator. It's a school full of teenagers who wouldn't expect a heart attack. I smiled and left before the paramedics arrived. It was already too late. Next was Julie. She'd always been jealous of how every boy liked you. I slipped into her house while her parents were out, so no one would come running if she cried. I crept into her room and waited until she slept. Then I pinned her down and tied her wrists to the bedposts, bound her legs, and used a dental-style mouth prop to keep her mouth open. I brought jars, almost black, and each one squirmed. I'd filled them with every creepy crawly I could find from the bottoms of gardens. I poured them down her throat. Her screams were muffled by the buzzing and skittering as the insects settled. Tears streamed down her face as I told her it was for you. After a few jars, I could feel the movement in her stomach. When she began to black out from the pain, I'd splash water on her face and slap her until she came round, then force more down her throat so she'd swallow them and they'd panic. By the fifth jar, the insects burrowed in, causing internal bleeding and agony, until finally she died. Not peacefully, of course. I saved the worst for Bethany. She'd been the worst to you and deserved the harshest lesson. I started early one day and skipped the last class. Nobody noticed. I knew her route home and waited in an archway she always walked through. When she appeared, I grabbed her and dragged her off the path to an abandoned, ruined church where no one would see. I tied her arms and legs to upright posts and gagged her because I knew she'd scream. I took out my knife and let her see the cold flash of metal. I placed the tip on her lower leg and pushed in slowly, careful not to make a fatal wound that would spill the crimson blood that meant death too easily. That would be too simple. When I pulled the blade back, I bandaged it tight to stop the bleeding, then moved the blade higher and did it again and again. I watched her eyes as she watched me. Each time I pierced her skin, her body became a maze of red bandages. She was barely conscious when I slid the final blow into her heart. I can imagine you're screaming right now. I know you will be. and I'll be close enough to hear you, because the moment you stop reading, you'll realize what this all means. It's not hard for me to get into your house anymore after a few attempts. You might have thought it was your parents who left this letter in your room. It wasn't. It was me. Don't be alarmed by the noise downstairs. It's only me. Put the phone down. I know you've got it in your hand, but I've cut the line. Don't try to call your parents if you haven't already. I've already silenced them. You can stop screaming now. I'm right outside your door. Unlock it, and it'll be just you and me together forever. With all my love, your secret admirer.